Well, I was blessed to get to lead a team from Grace to go back to Honduras this year and to serve alongside the missionaries there, Mike and Ginger Green, our partners, reaching Honduras. I was thankful for this team that God had put together. The team was Dusty and Galia Cook, Anna Farnsworth, John Klein, Julia Benfield, and her son Travis, who attends another church, but we were thankful that he was able to go with us. And so we were serving a couple named Pedro and Delmira, and we were going to build them a house. And they had had a house previously, but it was like a little stick house, for lack of a better word. And 7 months prior to us arriving, Delmira's son had passed away at 17 years old. She had told us later in the week that the reason he had passed away was because he had gotten pneumonia because water had gotten in their roof. And so now we were going to provide a house for this family so that nobody else had to get sick from the rain. So you think about that this house that they receive now could literally keep them alive and keep them from being sick. And so we were thankful to be able to serve them there and to provide a 25 by 19 foot cinder block home. And for Delmira, it was her mansion. But the thing that we really loved about Delmira was that we learned right away that this is a woman of faith, a woman of prayer. Because the first time when we huddled up to pray after we had kind of met the family and introduced ourselves and allowed them to speak, we always have a time of prayer. And immediately she started praying. And Ginger told us afterwards this is the first time that she's ever heard a Honduran family lead in prayer. And we just let her pray. We didn't want to interrupt her and didn't know everything she was saying, but we just kept hearing her pray, ayúdame, God help me. And that's what she just kept praying. When you hear people, you know if they're a praying person or not. And with Delmira, it was obvious. It was so awesome to have Galia with us because she can speak Spanish, and so she can speak so much more personally. There were moments that was just like, this could have never happened if it had just been another translator. On day 2, we found an opportunity to talk to Delmira some more. And then she brought up about her son. And in the midst of talking, she began to break down and weep. And Galia, because there was no language barrier, she just brought her in and hugged her and wept with her, and we just prayed for Delmira right there. We asked, could we pray for you? And we prayed for her, and she was just weeping because of how much she missed her son. After all of that, Delmira, who I had not mentioned, is partially blind, and she looked at us and she said, thank you for noticing me. Thank you for recognizing me and spending time with me. And so we are so thankful for that opportunity to be able to serve that family and to give them this home. Another project that we were able to do was to be able to help a community that we've been able to go to now multiple times. 3 years ago, when I first went, we were able to pray in this community because they were going to get a well. They did not have clean water anymore, and so the last day that we were there 3 years ago, we got to pray for this community to receive water, and they did. The next week they drilled for water. Now this whole community has good, clean water coming directly to their house. Last year when I went back, we built a house in this community, and I got to preach there on Sunday morning. Well, then this year, that community is kind of on the side of a mountain, but you kind of come down the hill and back up, and at the bottom of that hill, the river runs through there, and they say during the rainy season that water can be waist high deep. And for most of that community, they can't get out for September, October. And so they're building a bridge for that community. And so we were able on Saturday to go and to help move rocks and to clear away, because where the bridge is, they needed a pass-by kind of place that people could go around while they're building the bridge for these next 2 weeks. And so we were able to help in that community, and I just think about how life-changing that must be for this community, to just think you can't leave for 2 months because of the rain and because of the river being too high. that was just two things that we were able to do, and there's many more that we could tell you, and there's so much that we could tell you about Delmira and Pedro. So if you see any of those folks that were on the team, I would just encourage you to go talk to them and to hear about how God worked in their hearts through this trip. And if you've been before, you know, but I would encourage you to prepare for 2026, because Lord willing, we'll go back again. And if you haven't been, I would encourage you to be praying now how God can use you to both serve the Hondurans, but also what he will do in your heart through them. So thank you guys for how you give. Thank you for how you pray. Thank you for how so many of you go on mission for God here and in the States and internationally. And so thank you very much for all that you do for God's kingdom.